Welcome to Big Blend Radio, where we celebrate variety and how it adds spice to quality of life. All right, everyone, we are not getting away from Women's History Month without talking about women in music. And today we're focusing on women guitarists. Yes, we are more than singers and dancers. We know how to rock it with strings, that's for sure. So Joey Stuckey, as always, is here on Big Blend Radio every fourth Sunday talking music. And I encourage you to go to his website, joeystuckey.com. He's an amazing guitarist. He is an amazing musician, singer, songwriter, recording artist, producer. Yeah, he's got his wonderful studio in Macon, Georgia. He is also the ambassador of music for Macon, Georgia, which is the capital of Southern rock. So he knows how to rock it. And today we thought, let's do women guitarists. So he sent me some great tracks for a song list. We're going to put together a playlist on Spotify. But I think we're going to get into the weeds with this because there are so many more women in guitars than I think we think of right away. So Joey, how are you doing?
Well, my friend, it's exciting to be with you as always. And, you know, when we first sort of talked about this idea, when it came to fruition, I was telling you a little bit about my trip to California and how I was able to get into the Les Paul recording studio based at United Recording. Les Paul and Mary Ford were a duo that made a lot of hit records, were very popular. Les Paul is the forefather of modern recording and the multi-track recording stuff. He invented a lot of techniques that we're still using today. And his wife, Mary Ford, was, of course, known as a great singer. But what I didn't know until I visited the museum, I say museum, it's not really open to the public, but they have a lot of his guitars there, and they have a lot of his albums there, and they're busily remastering and remixing his catalog, including a lot of things that were not released. They played me a recording, song called Smoke Rings. They played me a recording of it, and it was freshly remixed and remastered and sounded like $1 million. But what I didn't know was that Mary Ford was also a very fine guitar player. People know her as a singer, but she's a very fine guitar player. And Tom, who's the engineer and sort of archivist for Les Paul, was telling me that on that track, she is playing the rhythm guitar, and she's just fantastic. I mean, and so when we were kind of talking about that, we were like, wow, there are a lot of really great female guitar players out there, so we should give them their props. And so that's kind of what happened. If I included a Spotify link to Smoke Rings, and it was shocking when I listened to it because the version I heard sounds like $1 million. I mean, it's like clean and clear and just beautiful. And the actual original version that's been released, in comparison, I mean, it's not a bad recording per se, but in comparison, it's really muddy and everything. On the version that I got to hear in the Les Paul studio, you could hear Mary Ford a little better. And of course, because we were listening to multi-tracks, which means that each instrument can be separated and listened to on its own, I was able to hear Mary Ford playing the guitar with no other tracks running and listen to what a fine guitar player she was. So it's not as obvious on the recording that I provided, but that's the only thing that's out, right now. Right. Anyway, she is so cool. And Gibson, and I didn't know, again, this is something I didn't know, Gibson made a lot of guitars named after Les Paul. He had a signature guitar, but they actually made a Gibson guitar that was a little smaller, like a 3/4 size guitar, and made it as a Mary Ford signature model. So she even has her own model guitar named after her as well, and that was produced for a very short period of time, is my understanding. But anyway, she was just fantastic. I thought everybody should know that. I mean, it really
Yes.
is remarkable.
Well, I know because she performed with Les Paul, right?
Yeah.
And this is in the 50s, early 50s,
Yeah.
1950 to
Yeah.
1954. They had 16 top 10 hits, including How High the Moon, one of my favorite songs.
Oh,
Via con Dios, they sold 6 million records in
yeah.
1951 alone. But check it out about her. She was one of the earliest practitioners of multi-track recording, singing and playing harmonies with herself using overdubbing techniques at
What
her
Les
and
Paul
Les Paul.
invented. That was Les Paul's invention, right?
And so she was one of the first in that. And think about it, she was one of the most popular women to play electric guitar in her era in the early 50s. Think about it. That's amazing. I mean, we all went crazy when, well, I wasn't there either yet, but Bob Dylan went electric. People went nuts. Think about it. She was ahead of Bob, right?
It really was. And what kills me is like, I mean, like I just always knew her as a singer. You know, I mean, and she's fantastic as a singer.
That's why I want to do this show so bad today,
Yeah.
because it's like so many times women are like on the other side, like June Carter is next to, Johnny Cash,
Right.
and she, I'm getting into Roseanne Cash a lot lately,
Yeah.
and she plays. But going back to that, Mary Ford, I'm sorry, but I went down a rabbit hole today
Yeah.
and I love music rabbit holes. But did you know she sold over 10 million records?
I did not know that.
I didn't either. 10 million records in that
I mean,
time.
she was huge in her day.
That's pretty big.
Think
Yeah,
about today how easy it is to get a record and to get the music. In her day, it was a lot harder. I mean, the distribution channels weren't there. And so think about the fact that she sold 10 million records and had a much harder time reaching her audience than we would today. So that's pretty impressive.
I mean, and then I thought about like her and these pioneers. So she is in the level of, I think this is going to turn into an article. Something's going on here because I just can't pull out of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But she is one of the pioneers in when we look at music history. So Mary Ford is at the top. No relation to Lita Ford, who we have to get to.
Oh, fantastic.
We have to. And Joan Jett,
Yeah.
they're related there. But she's not related to Mary Ford. But this is the first person that came to my mind as soon as we said we're going to do women guitarists. Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
I knew it. I knew you.
I had to. Come on now. She was like the rock and roll queen.
Yeah.
Where are you, Joey? How could you leave her out? And she will yell at you if you swear. She'll smack you over the head.
That's absolutely brilliant.
Okay. So let's just talk about the pioneers here.
Yeah.
This is who I came up with. And you got like a list of people. Some people I didn't know, and one has been a guest on the show. So we got some modern ones. So when we look at foundational pioneers, Mary Ford is there, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Elizabeth Cotten, known for the cotton picking style, which a lot of men, and this was she did it like an upside down left-handed playing, cotton picking.
I never knew that.
She's a folk icon, folk icon in music. So important. So Elizabeth Cotten. Then there's Memphis Minnie. Now you got to know Memphis Minnie, man. When the levee breaks, she did blues guitarist, over 200 recordings. And then Mother Maybelle Carter, country music. So she invented what is known as the Carter scratch. And that pretty much, I think, helped the Americana sound of roots music, roots guitar music. It was part of that. I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it. But yeah, Maybelle Carter, Mother Maybelle Carter is a big deal. Do you have any comments on these pioneers, these women guitarist pioneers, or anyone else to add?
I've heard them all, but I don't pretend to know much about them. I'm not familiar with what the scratch technique is. I don't know what that means, but I've certainly heard what recordings there are available over time.
I'm going to have to write this article. It
Yeah,
sounds
you need
like
to. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of roots guitar is like this. You have to listen to it. So
Yeah.
I encourage people to Google that, maybe go on YouTube, which is great because there's all these things that, if we weren't around that are there, so it's definitely, it's like melody and rhythm together is the scratch.
Okay.
If that makes sense. It's country guitar playing. It's what she did.
I will have to investigate.
And going back to Elizabeth Cotten, I mean, when the folk revival came up in the 60s, Elizabeth Cotten was the person who really got that freight train. She wrote Freight Train, and that's part of that style. And she did that at 11 years old.
Wow.
Sister Rosetta Tharpe, think about it. She influenced Chuck Berry. Yeah. Okay.
Oh
So
yeah.
like that's her name is the godmother of rock and roll. I can remember there. I had to
Yeah.
go back in my like big notes. So excuse me all. Well, I got into a rabbit hole of this, and it's just incredible when you look at these women. So I want to go. So yeah, but you got Mary Ford in there, which I did not know until you came back with that information. So she's in the list now. She's in the
Yeah.
list.
I mean, well,
So
it was such a revelation for me. I mean, I was like, this is. I mean, I didn't know. Like I said, I certainly heard her sing before, all that stuff. But um, like I said, it was a real privilege to be in that studio, and they spent several $1 million basically rebuilding Les Paul's original recording equipment from the 40s. And they had to do it because he had hundreds of tapes left around when he passed away that they wanted to preserve and release, but they couldn't because they only played on the custom machine. So they had to rebuild the custom machine. So they've been restoring them and stuff now for several years. And but they're also trying to find a way to honor her. And Tom, who's basically the archivist and the engineer, he was really excited to share Mary's story, and put a spotlight on her because she was, like I said, everybody thought of her as a great singer, but really, and this is coming from someone who plays guitar for a living. I mean, really fine guitar player. I mean, just really great. And Les gets all the accolades on the guitar, and he certainly is remarkable. But what she did, she wasn't so much of a lead player. She was a rhythm player, but that's real important. And she was just precision playing, really nice chord voicings, very good sense of timing, just really fine. So it was exciting.
I like this. It's exciting. I mean, just to look in the past because that's how we learned for what we're doing now, you know?
Well, the other thing that's interesting is there are a lot of female vocalists, um, that we think of. There are a lot of female piano players that we think of. But interestingly, when people have casual musical conversations, two of the instruments that they tend not to remember females for are guitar and drums. And I don't know why, but when you talk about guitar players, a lot of times the female guitar players don't really come up. And there are some really incredible female guitar players. It's the same thing with drummers.
Right.
There are some really fine female drummers. The band Rush is getting back together. Their drummer, Neil Peart, passed away, a while back, and they said they weren't going to tour again. And when bands say that, I say, and I don't mean this, I do not mean this as jadedly, but I always say, wait till they run out of money and you'll see them again. That's just kind of true. So Rush is getting back together, and the drummer, and Neil Peart is one of the best drummers in the world, definitely like in the top 20 drummers of all time. And his replacement is this wonderfully talented female drummer. So that's exciting to see that. So anyway, the point is, I mean, there's it's interesting that a lot of times the guitar players that are female don't get recognized like they should, which is
Well,
why
and
it's
the
so
other
important
thing,
for us to do it. So
yeah, I mean, we talk about the pioneers, right? That really got women out there with their slinging their guitars. But the other part, I think, is why is a lot of times it's the women that are singer-songwriters and people, so they get out there with their guitar and people forget that that's another instrument that they're playing and singing. Like, I can sing, but
yeah,
me performing with my guitar, which I've done, I'm sorry, I suck at it because I do. I'm not, I mean, I got away with it and I had to keep forcing myself to be that way, but
yeah,
I'm really more into like a really good performance, you know?
right,
And to me, it always cut my energies in two and it was never as good as
yeah,
if
yeah,
I had a good band, you know? So that's just me, but there's a lot of women who are able to do both. And I just go, wow, you know? So, we look at the folk singer songwriters and acoustic musicians, and you brought in Jolene, you know, the one and only lady who wrote Jolene.
I mean, Dolly Parton is a really fine guitar player.
And those nails, man.
I know, that kills me. So, I was trained classically as a guitar player. And as a classical guitar player, what you play is an acoustic guitar with nylon strings. Most guitars have steel strings. And you play with fingernails on your right hand instead of a pick. And so I still have nails on my right hand, although I rarely play classical guitar anymore. But I just got used to it and left it. But my nails are, they're short-ish. They're a little long. They have to be to come over the tips of your fingers, but you kind of want to keep them short. But Dolly Parton has big old fingernails. She has long fingernails, and how she plays with those long nails, I will never understand. But she's so good. And in Jolene, that is her playing that guitar, that wonderful rolling guitar. Now, oftentimes when she's performing her concerts, she doesn't necessarily play and sing at the same time. Sometimes she does, sometimes she doesn't. I've seen her do both, but she often would play the rhythm tracks in her sessions. So that is her playing that song. And I think that's just one of the finest songs ever written. I love it.
I mean, everyone does. I mean, it's an amazing. And then you also brought in the Indigo girls, which, they're such singers, songwriters, amazing. But you picked it, and everyone check the link in the episode notes for our Spotify playlist on this. You put in "Closer to Fine." I mean, it's an anthem now, especially after Lilith Fair. I think Lilith Fair really put it over the edge.
Well, it was when that song came out, I was young, and it was a revelation compared to what was being played on commercial alternative radio. And it was just a real, defining moment. I mean, I remember it vividly, to hear these two ladies harmonizing and, playing the guitar. And it was just a real, they just blew up. I mean, they just really came out with a bang. And to do that, and of course they're from Georgia, so we're very proud of them. They, I actually got to shake their hand one time because there's a massive warehouse in Atlanta, Georgia, that's a rehearsal space. And so they have small rooms and they have big rooms. And, bands that are making music for a living would rent these rehearsal spaces and do their rehearsals. And some people would rent them by the month. And, some people would just rent them when they needed to. And I was in a band in Atlanta, and I live in Macon, Georgia. That's about an hour and a half away. Downtown Atlanta is roughly about an hour and a half. But I was in a band with a friend, and they asked me if I'd come play guitar and sing backup vocals. And this friend is so talented and so amazing, and just, one of the greats. She never made it big, but that's just one of the great cruelties of the universe, because she's better. We put it this way. Janis Joplin wishes she could sing this good. I mean, my friend can sing, and she's also a fine piano player. But I mean, she can do the Janis Joplin stuff, but 10 times better. I mean, it's so good, it's just ridiculous. Anyway, she asked me to be in her band, and I was honored to do that because her talent is just crazy. And we walked from our small, cramped, cheap rehearsal room to where the big, fancy rehearsal rooms were that the big stars would rent. And the Indigo girls were out there getting a drink out of the Coke machine. And that's what we were going to do too. So I got to shake hands and say hello. And I'm sure that they will not remember this, but anyway, they were just huge. And that song was huge for a very long time. And it just was a new sound at that point in sort of alternative music, because a lot of what you had going on around that same time was the beginning of grunge and stuff like that. So it was just, it was great.
Yeah, they kept this whole other side going. It's interesting when you look at this list. I mean, we've got Dolly Parton, and when you think back in the day too, you had Joni Mitchell, who's still going, and her.
Yes.
I mean, what she did, her guitar playing was different. I mean, and I think some of these guitarists, they were using their guitar as a harmony for them.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think Joni did that, and Joan Baez too.
Yeah.
We can't ignore Joan Baez because she also used her guitar. they had riffs. They may have been subtle, but that is the beauty of it. When we talk about the folk side of things, I think sometimes we forget a singer-songwriter, their guitar is still part of what makes that song so good. It isn't just the vocals or just the lyrics. It's also include the guitar playing in there and part of it. But also when you talk about the Indigo Girls, for me, it also brings up Annie DiFranco and Jewel. You put Jewel on your list too, that they were also at Lilith Fair at that festival. When we think
Yeah, yeah.
about musicians and women, Emmylou Harris was there, all
I
of
love
those.
Emily Harris. She's
Oh
great.
man, that's a whole other one. Between us right now, we have 30 women,
Yeah.
and
Well,
now
I mean, Ani
it's
DiFranco is
growing.
like
Well, I say Annie, but yeah, okay, sorry,
Either way,
Annie.
yeah.
No, you're right. You're going to be
she,
right.
she
I butcher everyone's name.
she's just cool. I mean, she uses her guitar in a totally unique way, and it's just fun to listen to how she chooses to use the guitar. I mean, it's really a masterclass in rhythm. I mean, she's really very rhythmically complicated, especially when you consider as you listen to her that her vocals are completely rhythmically different than the guitar. And that is very difficult to do. And
Mm.
she really just has something special. I mean, she just does. Really, I mean, it's just
She's authentic, man.
yeah. And now, what I'll say is that she wouldn't be any good in a cover band. She wouldn't probably be a good choice for a session musician because
That's
she is so much herself. When you go to music school, most of us lose a little of our identity so that we can play together. And so what I'm saying is there's a certain amount of artistic freedom that you surrender when you go to music school and you learn how to play your instrument because you're learning how to fit in with other people. You're learning how to be a tool for other people's vision. When a composer hands you a piece of music, you have to play what they've written. You don't play what you want, you play what they gave you. So there's some of that. So from a business standpoint, music school is a good thing because it allows you to be versatile and play a lot of styles and allows you to go out and make a solid living. Being an artist where you are playing only what you want, only what you compose, that is a lot harder initially. But what you'll find is that the most successful artists, the ones that are the biggest stars, are really not very flexible in their musical ability. They do what they do, and then other people support that. And so that's a really interesting thing, I think, to talk about
hmm
because I mean it's like you're actually going to be it's going to be harder for you at first, but you're actually going to be more successful the more you have a specific sound, and that's just what and you just do what you do. So that it's that's one of the things with me that is good and bad. I'm a session player, and so I get together and help other artists create their music, and I play what supports whatever they're doing, and so that's good because I'm versatile. But it also means that when I do my own music, I'm one of the few people that I know that can flip that switch in my brain and just do my art with no constraints. But that's why I love Ani DiFranco so much because like she just does what she
what she
does.
wants.
And
Exactly,
and
man.
it just sounds so great. And I mean, I can tell her song in about 3 seconds. I
hmm
mean, that's how you know you've got someone that's a real artist. If I can in the first two or three notes know who it is without the vocal, without the lyrics, then you're an artist. So that's why I love her so much. She's absolutely just fun and unique and just doing her own thing, man. I love it.
No, Jewel did it. Jewel, she went from living in the back of her van in San Diego, and we were there right after she kind of moved out. Like when we moved in, she moved out. That sounds good.
You read her off.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I mean,
did. No, but she's in South Africa right now, actually.
how is she?
Yeah, yeah, she does. She's an artist, a designer, and like just a all round incredibly creative person, and very much will do what she's a very strong individual, very strong woman, very independent.
Oh yeah.
and helps women through stuff in life. She has like her own college or something on that.
Well, I have
But
a short Jewel story, which is that yeah, she was living in her car or whatever, and she was working. She was singing at coffee shops and trying to make a living just playing and singing. I mean, and people started coming to hear her play at these coffee shops and stuff. I mean, like I can't remember if there's a specific one or she did several, but I mean, she went from almost being on the street to follow her dream, and look where it got her. I mean, she made it. And I have a sort of a tangential story to her because a gentleman named Ian Copeland, whose brother is Stuart Copeland from the Police.
From the Police, yeah.
And his other brother is Miles Copeland that started IRS Records, which brought us such artists as REM and the B-52s. Copeland was lived in Macon for about 2 years in the 70s. And he was part of, booking. He was a booking agent, and he worked, for Paragon Booking, which is the booking agency that did the Allman Brothers and all those guys. And they were all based here in Macon. And Ian stayed about 2 years and moved on. In fact, he gave to Phil Walden, who was the Capricorn Records, Allman Brothers, Southern Rock impresario. He gave Phil Walden a demo of the Police, and he gave Phil Walden a demo of Dire Straits. And Phil turned both those down. And, you can't pick them all. I mean, Phil Walden did.
But you are going to kick yourself after that.
Phil Walden did R&B and Southern Rock, and
yeah, so it might not have worked.
I don't think he really understood what the Police were doing. And if you heard the very early Police stuff, it was a little bit more on the punk side.
Yeah.
So whatever. But he did turn down a demo of Sultans of Swing. But anyway, the reason I know all this is because Ian Copeland was coming through Georgia on a book tour. He had written a book, and I read an article in the paper about how he'd spent a couple of years here in Macon, and I wanted to meet him, and I wanted to get his book and have him sign it. So I went to his book signing, and I was, just put out my first record, and he said, I said, what would it take for me to have you listen to my album and give me your thoughts? And he was like, I'll be glad to listen to it. So, of course, I had it on me. I handed it to him, gave him my card, and thought I'd never hear from him. And a few days later, he called me, and he told me that he loved the stuff and would like to help me. And he, at the time, had a booking agency called FBI, Frontier Booking International. And he booked some of the biggest acts in the world, REM, Amy Grant, just all Sting, all these huge acts. And he told me the story of Jewel in her car, and he said, I helped her I listened to her and believed in her, and I helped her get into an industry party where she can make some contacts. And the next thing you know, she has a record deal.
Isn't that amazing?
And he said she really deserved it. And he said, I'd like to help you the same way. And at the time, he was opening some restaurants called the Backstage Cafe. And he was opening them because, they're kind of like a Hard Rock, basically. But he had a warehouse full of memorabilia from all these bands he booked. And he's like, I need to do something with all this stuff. And his other passion besides music was cooking. So he was coming up with recipes and like a menu, and he was going to decorate all these restaurant locations with his various memorabilia, gold records, and all this stuff. And he was also going to make it where you could have music there. And I was supposed to. We were talking about me touring with Sting's son, and then before we could make any of that happen, he passed away from a heart attack. But he was one of the people who was responsible for helping Jewel get in the right place where she could have her talent appreciated.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so she really, he believed in her, and this guy worked for the biggest of the biggest. And he believed in her and thought she was amazing, and she is.
No, she has really gone and moved on. It's a huge story. Stuart Copeland, we've done 2 interviews on his side band, Logic.
Oh yeah.
So they've come on the show, and it's a great band, And the last album was all about California and the different sounds of California. And you got to think surf music to the desert, to the country, to 60s and that kind of vibe in San Francisco, and a really cool album.
A good friend of mine, his name Ricky Kedge, he's a 3-time winning Grammy artist in world music. And he and Stuart Copeland produced an album together, and it was basically music from the Police, but done with world music instruments and arrangements. So really interesting stuff.
The Police were huge when I was growing up in South Africa. I think it's interesting. Stuart Copeland and Sting, that offbeat, they have this offbeat. I can't even that's not even the word for it. It's really syncopated, but different with that bass.
Very smart man. Very smart.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a shame they all hate each other now, but anyway.
I know. I was going to say I've been biting my tongue not to say anything because there's a story I'd like to tell, but it is such. Basically, Stuart Copeland used to put names on his drums for Sting to see while he was playing on the cymbals. He would say names on it. So anyway, I can't say that on the air, but like what it was. But yeah, so when Sting would turn around, he would see exactly what Stuart had to say about him. That's just another musician telling me about that. But
they're all suing each other now. So.
Yeah, and now they call women the cats. Yeah, let's not get there. But anyway, I want to close up
the women guitar players.
The folk singer-songwriter and acoustic icons and guitars, women. Getting back to the women's side on this, I'm derailing you, Joey. We got to get back to the ladies. You brought up Caroline Aiken, or is it Aiken?
Caroline Aiken, yes.
This is why I'm in podcasting. I can't pronounce anything. So she's a roots guitarist.
Yeah, I mean, she is a real big. She's a local girl. She's a really big person in our state, and is just really fantastic. And she played for Joey Stuckey a live day last year. She was our headlining act, and she was just fantastic.
I should remember how to pronounce her name.
And she's just, I mean, her guitar playing is so wonderful. Her singing is really wonderful too. And she plays piano as well. And she's been performing since mid-70s, so she's been doing it a long time. But she has been a real force of nature here in Georgia, and has helped so many bands and artists to find their path. And she was a big mentor to Sean Mullins and to the Indigo Girls, and she really helped the Indigo Girls get established and find some business connections. And she's just someone who I really am honored to say I've shared the stage with. And she's just fantastic. And again, she's done well. She's done well in her career, don't get me wrong. But I feel like she should be another one of these huge global stars. And she's but she's really fantastic, and just such a special talent, and just really amazing.
Well, I want to move on to rock, punk, and metal trailblazers.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. You put in Joan Jett. We all know I love rock and roll, but you can't ignore it. I mean, it is even part of a movie, right?
Oh, yeah.
The Runaways, got to think, oh, my God, we've got Joan Jett, but that brings up Lita Ford, and we cannot. I mean, you've got to think she was like a heavy metal. Like Joan was more punk, and Lita Ford was more heavy metal.
And honestly, I mean, she's the better guitar player. I mean,
Lita Ford or Joan Jett?
Lita Ford.
I was going to say, I've always loved Joan Jett, but then our friend Stephen Karen and the Lion on the Rose Bed and Breakfast, they are Mr. and Mrs. Wild, and they go off and interview musicians all the time. And their one dog is named Lita, and their other dog is Ozzy and Lita. And she's always like, Lita Ford. And then I was like, yeah. And then I got back into Lita Ford. I was like, you can. Come on.
The thing is, well, with Joan and Lita both, I mean, what's interesting about them, and I think the thing that makes them compelling, is they have so much attitude, and it just comes through, and it's just so entertaining to listen to, and it's just so powerful to listen to. And Joan's got, like I said, tons of attitude. she's a good guitar player. I mean, what she does well, and it works. And I think she's probably the one with a little bit more attitude that comes through. But Lita's really a fine lead guitar player, and Joan's more of a rhythm player. And there's no shame in that. But when you compare the two, Lita's definitely the one that's a little elevated.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on there. Now, Poison Ivy from the Cramps. She's a psychobilly.
Yes, you know what, I know Poison Ivy, and I didn't think about that. That's a good one. That slipped my mind.
And then there's Jennifer Batten, two-handed tapping.
I don't know her.
She worked with Michael Jackson and toured with him.
She's Australian.
She's known for the two-handed tapping. I don't know if she's Australian. I have to look that part up. But she's more of a technical.
Yeah. There's a young lady that played with Michael Jackson, who I think I've got this right, is Australian, and she's kind of a shorter stature, and she was ridiculous. Like, if you watch the documentary, what's it called? Is it called This Is It?
She's American. She's American.
Okay, well, he had an Australian playing too. But if you watch the documentary, This Is It, I think that's what it's called, with Michael Jackson, where it showed him preparing for his last concert. This has the Australian guitar player in it, and she was ridiculous. I mean, just really good.
Man, so then we got to talk. We cannot not bring up, I should say, Nancy Wilson from H.E.R, Barracuda. I mean, Dreamboat Annie, Dog and Butterfly. I mean, she was able to do like folk all the way to like badassery.
Yeah.
Rock.
Fantastic.
I mean, she just is. And she's still going and touring, so she's incredible. You also brought up one of my favorites, Bonnie Raitt. And this is now we're getting into the blues roots and Americana powerhouse women. Bonnie Raitt, I mean, I listen to her probably every day. Like, honestly, a lot.
Bonnie Raitt.
Slide. Oof.
She's a fine slide guitar player, and fine guitar player all around.
Fine songwriter. My God, everything.
Yeah. But the thing that I think about when I think of her, is sort of twofold. First of all, I was at the Grammys when she won her Grammy Award over the last couple of years, and I was mortified when several papers, magazines, and newspapers, after talking about the Grammys and who won what, didn't know who she was, and just said, "Oh, this new artist that we've never heard of, Bonnie Raitt, won the Grammy." And I was like, seriously? It was really offensive. I was like, I mean, she's had a number of big hits. She's absolutely fantastic. And they're like, who's Bonnie Raitt? And so that was one thing that I think about when I think of her. The other thing, though, is my dear, dear friend, Randall Bramlett, who is one of the most talented people in the world, who's a Georgia treasure and lives in Athens. She has picked up two of his original compositions and recorded them on her album. And I don't remember the names of the songs, but my friend Randall Bramlett has had two songs recorded by Bonnie Raitt for one of her records. And I think that's really cool.
That is cool. That is. Now I've got another one. Samantha Fish.
Yeah.
We got to have her. I mean, she is fiery and she plays cigar box guitars, right? And her sister's also a musician.
I didn't know that.
Right. Yes. I just found that out too. I was like, well, okay. I know. It's amazing. Then one of my all-time favorites, Susan Tedeschi.
I wondered if you were going to come to that. Yeah.
Tedeschi and Trucks Band, I love them. It's a big all like happy family blues Americana jam session that just is spectacular.
Well, Tedeschi is just a powerhouse.
She's a powerhouse since she was a kid. Yeah. I mean, it's not just with her and Derek Trucks. I mean, beforehand, they were on tour together as like separate entities. And eventually they just said, let's just have a band together. This is ridiculous.
It makes sense.
It does. And look how many, it's just, God, it's so good, and she did.
Those guys are absolutely world class, top of their
Have you heard her sing The Letter? My God.
I mean, she can, as far as I'm concerned, they can do no wrong. They're as good as it gets.
The other person I'm going to bring up is Sheryl Crow.
Yeah, Sheryl Crow's fantastic.
I mean, and bass player too. I always watch because playing guitar and singing is one thing, but then playing bass and singing, and accordion. I always wonder, how do your boobs handle that? No, just,
very carefully.
Yes. I mean, things can get trapped in there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The accordion bra.
Yeah, no, then it's not an over your shoulder boulder holder
No,
anymore.
no, no. Mama's got to squeeze.
That's it. Oh boy. Oh boy. Anyway, moving right along. Sheryl Crow. I mean, I think about, when she dated Eric Clapton for a while and
Yeah.
she did this concert with American Express. It was this like pop-up concert when it kind of started this, where it just happened at Madison Gardens. And I got the album because it's live. And
I hadn't heard it.
I just love live music.
Oh,
And it
me
was
too.
recorded live and all these Prince came on, Clapton came out and she played things like There Goes the Neighborhood and Every Day's a Winding Road, which I think she learned a little bit of blues stuff from him when they were together. Every Day's a Winding Road, Favorite Mistake. There's these riffs. She creates riffs.
Yeah, Favorite Mistake may be one of my favorite songs of hers. It's just so good from start to finish.
Yeah, that riff at the beginning, it's like you
Yeah,
can hear that. You already know what song it is.
yeah, yeah. And
It's
it's just
amazing how a riff can make the
it's just
entire
I
song.
have to say her recordings as an engineer, her recordings are so wonderful to me because they're slick and they're polished, but yet they got a little grit to them too, and they're just really cool. I'm such a fan of her
River
record.
Wide with the whole orchestra, the strings. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It's like it almost goes into like an Indian East Asia kind of vibe. And yeah, that is just a amazing. I think that was an album that she can't remember the name of the album suddenly that she wrote after she went through breast cancer. We should be
Yeah,
making
yeah,
jokes of boobs and stuff here,
right.
with that. And that was not intended, everyone.
Yeah.
Um, but she wrote that about being really in deep, you go into deep places when you go through health issues, as you
Oh
know.
yeah.
And but amazing, amazing album. Okay, I got to bring up the other two. Just got nominated for a Grammy. Larkin Poe, Rebecca and Megan Lavelle. I saw them perform at Greeley Blues Jam, and this is, these two sisters. Rebecca's like the heavy rocker, and they're both married to musicians. Rebecca's like the hard rock blues, and then Megan is like, here's the lap steel, and it's just so amazing how they started, they had a band with all their sisters. And then it's these two, the ones who stuck it out and did their thing. I think they've won a Grammy. Blood Harmony is their latest album, which is just amazing. Just, they did so much through YouTube. They would just sit there and they would take songs and create them as their own and get them out there. They're just really powerful. They've toured the world. They stay on the straight and narrow, in the world of blues, that's hard to do. And just incredible harmonies. But Blood Harmony to me is a great, they have a song Mockingbird that I love. It's my spirit bird, mockingbirds. And it's a huge thing about the voice. It's your first voice as a mockingbird because you mimic everything
That's
first.
true. That's very
And
true.
that's it's my favorite bird. And I just listened to a mockingbird sing. I was walking the dogs today and stopped and listened and was thinking about that, how we mimic. My nickname is Kasuku, right? From mimicking.
Ooh.
Because I could copy so many people's voices. It's not funny. So again, and so in Kenya when I was a little kid, that was my Swahili friends nicknamed me Kasuku, which is a parrot for being able to mimic
Huh.
sounds, mimic. Yeah, I can. Yeah, it's weird. Like I could go to karaoke and do karaoke songs, whatever, and just go into, all right, you want me to do a Cher sound? You want me to do Sheryl Crow sound? You want me to do Stevie Nicks? Fine, I'll do it. Grace Slick? Sure. It's weird. It's weird because then you do have your own voice. So as a band person, when I was in a band, I had to find my own voice, which is
That's always
difficult. If
tricky.
you're doing a lot
That's
of
always tricky.
covers,
Yeah.
people want to do covers, it's like, but anyway, the mockingbird thing is very interesting. And so the Native Americans flutes start at the mockingbird, and that's where you start is at the mockingbird flute. The woodpecker, sorry, not the mockingbird, the woodpecker, which is kind of correlated because when you hear them, you know, sing both birds, they do have a repetition. They're like the first birds of sound. I don't know how to explain that. It makes no sense what I just said, but it's a truth of birds in the morning who's saying they are like the watchdogs of the neighborhood. Both birds.
I don't know specific calls or anything like that, but I do take great joy if I'm up early enough to have slowly the birds around our yard wake up and start making music. And I was sitting there with a cup of coffee and going through emails very quietly about 6 in the morning. That is a real joy to hear the birds crank up. I love to listen to them. I don't pretend to know what kind they are, but I just love to hear them tweet.
Me too. Me too. Now, I got a couple more in this category, but before we go there, Diane Durrett.
Yeah. So Diane has been on the podcast, and she also performed at a live day. And Diane is the president of the Atlanta chapter Grammy board, where I also serve as a governor. And she and I have written a song together along with Ed Roland from Collective Soul. So the three of us wrote a tune and recorded it. And whether it will ever get released, Ed's the star of the bunch, so he's kind of in the driver's seat on that. But we did that and had a lot of fun. But I just respect her so much and like her. And she came down and performed with Caroline Aiken and Liz Melendez, and just we had such a good time. And Diane's just really, really fine singer, good guitar player too, just a really fine singer. And just someone that everybody should know.
Really great. And she's got a nice bluesy voice too,
She does. Speaking voice is nice.
But she's got the grit.
She does. We had it's an absolute madhouse at the Grammys. And, it's just when you go to the show and there's just so many people and some of them are a little tipsy, and we ended up finding each other in line waiting to get into an event. And that's pretty amazing. And it's always a privilege to spend a little time with her. She's so interesting. She has a book out, and it talks about her time trying to break into the music scene in Nashville. And she was playing music at night and driving a limousine during the day. And she's just a fascinating person.
I found out your guitarist, and she was on the list, but I didn't figure it out.
Oh, who was it?
The one from Australia.
Yeah.
And she also toured with Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Is
Okay.
Orianthi Penagaris. And if I'm saying that wrong, sorry. And she's got a second album out right now called Believe. That came out in 2009. So that's her latest one that I can tell. But Alice Cooper from Adelaide. Yep, that's where she's from, Adelaide.
And
for those listening, she is touring the United States right now. So check it out.
Nice.
Yeah, she dated Richie Sambora, but not anymore. Okay, now here comes all the scandal. Well, God, that one's interesting, So there's so anyway, there's a lot of scandal going on. Everyone just Google her. Just kidding. Most importantly, go listen to her because so that's the other one. So yeah, duh. I should have got that together when you first talked about her. I want to bring up two together, Shelley King and Carolyn Wonderland. So Shelley King is she's the first female state musician of Texas. She really puts Americana to like the roots. She's the blues, folk, gospel. It's all in there. Originally born in Arkansas. She's been on our show numerous times, and she's been touring a lot with Carolyn Wonderland. She's just got this amazing host of friends, and Amy Helm, Levon Helm's daughter, and just amazing people that she performs with. But she really is just the guitar part is who she is. It's like take her guitar away. It's kind of like she's one with your guitar, Shelley.
Oh, yeah.
Songwriting, all of it. She's very mystical. In fact, Madam Mystic is a good song for people. She's written songs that people have recorded as well. Marsha Wonderbull, she plays, I think Marsha's recently retired. But Carolyn Wonderland, too. They tour a lot. They go all over the world. Carolyn Wonderland is also a blues rock guitarist from Texas, does slide guitar, and she'll go into roots and all of that too. But she was John Mayall's guitarist for a long time until he retired. So yeah, these women are powerhouses, and I just love to see that they can get out there, and I'm one with my guitar. I can hold my own, like I was saying, for me to be able to sing and play guitar, that's like a huge task. I'm not one with it. You do it in fact, if you're not, it's just everyone's different, but like you can, no matter what goes on, if you can play the guitar and sing and you have your own songs, whatever happens, electricity goes out or something, you are able to continue on. And I always think about that. Somebody, doesn't show up for a band or whatever, the rehearsal for a gig, or you can keep going if you can sing and play that instrument. You can.
And It really is. And the thing about it, I mean, the art of creation is so primal in all of us, and we all find different ways to project it. But when you can play the guitar and sing, it's very freeing as an artist, and it's very freeing from a business perspective, because there are a lot of artists that I work with in the studio that don't actually play an instrument. And that really is kind of a problem, in the sense that it doesn't mean they're not talented or that they're not great artists, but what it does mean is they're beholden to somebody else to make their career, to make their living. And I will say that the music business is full of people that are not reliable. I mean, they like the idea of being in the music business, but they don't necessarily like the work that goes into being in the music business. And so they don't show up on time, they don't show up at all, or they get involved in the rock and roll lifestyle where they forget to show up to gigs and because they drank too much the night before. When you're just without an instrument to back yourself up, it really becomes more problematic.
It is.
I had a client recently that made a record, and I said, while we're here mixing, we should take the extra 10 minutes and make instrumentals of all your tracks so that you have a recording.
Oh, yeah.
That you can sing with if your band doesn't show. And they said, I don't want to do that. That just costs too much money and all this stuff. I said, okay, that's your decision. And lo and behold, about 4 weeks later, I get this frantic call needing instrumental tracks because the band broke up. So I was like, well, I mean.
Well, see, but that the band the band breaking up is a norm. And you don't want to believe it. You think everyone's a happy family when everyone's energy is high and it's new and everything's working. And then 2 days later, here it comes.
Yeah.
And it makes really good movies and good stories, but it's not fun if you've written the music and you put all the money out or whatever. It is so good to be your own grandpa.
Yeah,
And at this point, I'm going to say be your own grandma. Be like Sister Rosetta Tharpe.
Yes.
Be the grandma. Be your own grandma. Take care of yourself. And that way you can make a plan B, C, D, E, F. And if you suddenly have to get a band to come and back you up, you know exactly what to say. You can say, here's the key, here's the chord, here's where we go. You can lead people. You have to. Like, don't be like Lisa in the beginning. Man, I was too shy. I was too scared, and it was all male, very male dominated. And you don't know anything, little girl. And then later, look, I went and performed with members of the Flying Burrito Brothers, Moby Grape, Canned Heat, John Lee Hooker, all of that, because I grew and I learned. So it's just, you've got to be your own grandma.
I like it. Yeah.
I mean it. So there's a few others closing off. Some are new to me, and I'm going to be digging into this more. Annie Clark, who's known as Saint Vincent, is an art rock guitarist.
Oh, God, so good.
Okay, All right. Yeah?
So good.
What did they say that she's known for angular riffs? What is that about?
That is a term that has no specific musical application as far as I know. And I was a composition major in music school, so I don't know what they mean by angular riffs. It sounds like a subjective description, but I'm not aware of what an angular riff is. But anyway, but it's
sounds like it's gonna hurt.
Yeah. I'm sorry, you've come down with a case of angular riffs. It sounds
like
a doctor's.
Sounds like.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, the thing about, I mean, it's very alternative. The stuff. It's what's the word I want? It's very everything that I've heard is like built around the vibe of her vocal, and
that goes with what we were talking about earlier, like the singer-songwriters.
Yeah, it's real interesting. It's usually several layers of guitar, so there's lots of subtle layers to it from the stuff that I've heard. But anyway, very, very good. I don't know what they mean by angular. Anyway.
Yeah, this is just, doing research. And then the other one is Yvette Young. And here's a new term for me, math rock guitarist. because she does melodic tapping and harmonies, and this has created a whole new generation of sound.
Yeah, I am not familiar with her, but I'm gonna go look it up. It sounds fascinating.
I know that I'm like everyone, so I'm just bringing up some research. And then I don't know this lady, but it's H.E.R or her, but
Yeah,
it's
her. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
so good. You know, she also plays.
it's
She's a
blues.
multi-instrumentalist. Yeah, but
Oh,
she plays drums as well.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
good stuff.
Yeah, so mine, the final one on this list, I'm very excited about because I remember just watching her at a very young age, 16 or so, Australian, came over to the States, and who was her mentor? None other than one of my favorite musicians, Mr. Jeff Beck. Tal Wilkenfeld, who has gone on to not only be just a phenomenal world class guitarist, bassist. She started at guitar, went into bass, and she just does a little bit of everything, started her own music. I mean, I just always watched her as this, older teenager, 16, 17. Jeff Beck would give her the cue, like, all right, it's your turn. And she would get this like young girl, like, ooh, it's my turn, excited. And she would just get into it and then look at it like, is that okay? Is that all right? It's such, if honestly, to watch the two of them perform, and she's a badass. Oh my God, she is amazing. And she is so cool. I love following her social media and stuff. And just she's just she's had so many just incredibly huge musicians come into her life, and she's such an open like teach, I want to learn. And I think whenever you are like that, you're going to get what you want because you want to, when you're open like I am ready to learn, people want to teach you. Nobody wants to teach someone who doesn't want to learn. No one wants to
That
share their
is very true.
advice and help
Yeah,
you move forward if you're
yeah,
being an ass.
yeah. I
Sorry,
mean,
my language, but it's true.
I can tell you, I taught music technology at a university here in town for a decade, and I did it because I wanted to. But as far as I was concerned, the university wasn't paying me what I was worth because I was also providing the studio for the kids to record in. So I provided all the equipment, I taught the class, I wrote the curriculum, I graded the papers, all that stuff. So I felt like that they were paying me my hourly rate for class time each week. But all the other stuff that I did, grading papers and all that stuff, I wasn't getting paid for. But I did it because I wanted to do it, and that was part of the job. But the reason that I mentioned that is because, if you've got a student that doesn't want to learn because they either think they know everything or they don't want to put the work in, that really was annoying. And I've only had two students like that in the entire 10 years that I did it. But you're right. It makes it hard to impart knowledge and to feel good about it when there's this bad attitude. So that is true. I've worked with a lot of big musicians, Alan Parsons and different people. There are two golden rules. The first is I never tried to impress them. I never was disingenuous. I did what I did, and I only spoke if I had something to say. And I was not trying to say, look at me, look at me, look at me. And the second thing was I listened to everything. I learned from every opportunity I could get. I would learn something. And
Because it's exciting.
yeah, it's just like, and so there are things I do now, and people say, why do you do that? I said, because Alan Parsons does it that way. And it makes sense.
Yeah,
And I won't bore you with the technical details, but I'll just say, it's like, and from that openness to learn and not try to be pushy, I eventually gained Alan's respect and trust and was able to participate and make meaningful contributions to his recordings. And I have a video message that he sent me for a Live Day, which is a concert that I put on every year, free to the public to celebrate the day I beat the brain tumor they said was supposed to kill me. And I bring musicians together, and we just have a day of celebration and invite everyone to come celebrate their triumphs with us. It's a free concert. And Alan sent me a message. Lisa, you and Nancy sent me a message, so you know what I'm talking about. But Alan sent me a message. And in this message, he says, and best believe I have this on my website and on my YouTube channel, he says, if you don't know, Joey Stuckey has the best ears in the music business. And that's a big deal. And I got there because of being open to learn and being open to be of service and not trying to be, look at me, look at me. And so I think you're right. I mean, I think that's such an important role. And the thing is, no matter how good you are and how smart you are and how talented you are, there's still a lot to learn. And you can learn from anybody. You can learn from the person that's been playing guitar for 6 months or the person that's been playing guitar for 40 years, because it's all about ideas and new ways of doing things. And there'll be students that will play something for me and I'll think, that's really interesting. I would not have thought to play it that way. That's a unique thing that you just did. Don't lose that. That's cool. You're thinking outside the box. I mean, so it's really exciting to learn and to be open to that. And all these women we've talked about, are trailblazers in their own way, doing things their own way, and creating, music that's very compelling.
It is. It's exciting. And they did it also by learning. I encourage people, go back to those pioneers we were talking about. The Spotify music playlist is in the episode notes. Also, Joey's website, which is joeystuckey.com. Go learn more about him. And if you're doing some music and getting ready to record something, call Joey, 1-800. No, it's not. Yeah, really. But anyway, go there, check it out. Go to his website and learn more. And a very cool conversation today. I'm like, I went down a rabbit hole. So you know what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the day and night. I'll be listening to women guitars, guitarists going on. And I also say Nora Jones's sister is pretty amazing with the sitar too. So like I know
she plays guitar. That's cool.
Nora Jones's sister is incredible. Oh my gosh.
I had no idea.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to send you this playlist, Joey.
Yeah. Well, we also put Melissa Etheridge on there. Don't forget her. So.
Oh my gosh, how did we leave Melissa Etheridge out?
Amazing.
Shame on me and my note taking.
My dear friend Ross Hogarth, who's a fantabulous producer, engineer in LA. We just had dinner with him when we were out there. He produced, I don't remember the album, but he was the engineer. I don't know if he was the engineer producer or just the engineer, but he was the engineer of one of Melissa Etheridge's albums. And I got to hear some of the raw multi-tracks before it was all mixed, and hear his process and what he did. Boy, she's just an amazing talent. And, she also is a cancer survivor and just continued to be a force to be reckoned with despite the health issues. And she's just great.
She is awesome. She is. And she loves Bruce Springsteen.
And I will say this. I am like default position, very aggressive when I play my guitar. I hit it with some force. And, some guys don't do that. That's fine. And I'm able to play softly and quietly if I want to, but my default position is to be aggressive with the guitar and hit it like I mean it. And that is my default position on most things. Hit the drum, and the reason for it is a good scientific reason. And it's just this. If you play aggressively, so you're putting some force behind your right hand in the sense of the guitar, the fundamental tone of the instrument comes through. So in other words, the primary tones that make the guitar sound like a guitar are projected. If you play softer, the partials or subharmonics start to be louder. And so that can be a good thing, but it depends on what you want. You want to be controlled about it, because when you play softer, you can hear adjacent strings ringing even when you're not touching them. There's stuff like that. And with the drums, it's the same thing. When you hit the drum softer, you start hearing the overtones created by the other drums vibrating nearby. There's this whole thing. So anyway, I say all that to say that Melissa Etheridge and Ani DiFranco both are very aggressive with their guitar playing. And I really like that. They just really hit the instrument with some authority. And I like it.
You know what? What about Suzi Quatro?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I went down a whole other thing. I got to stop. I got to pull out of the rabbit hole, because then it's Anushka Shankar, Nora Jones's sister. That's their dad is Ravi Shankar, right? So
I did not know that.
Yeah. And they're half sisters.
Oh, I knew who that was. Yeah, I didn't realize that was her sister. Learn something new every day.
I know. Every time you listen to Big Blend Radio, y'all, we're gonna all. I learned more from Joey. Joey learned from me, and I learned from research and everyone. This is such a cool thing, and because we, now there's a whole list of women bass players.
Oh, I know. No, I thought about including some, but I decided we'd stick with guitar.
Yeah, I went off the deep end because
Yeah,
I got Susie Quattro in there now.
well, and you got like Amy Mann and
Oh man! Oh my gosh! Okay.
yeah, I mean, so
Joan Armour Trading.
yeah, and then
See,
I can't. The name's leaving my mind. Spalding. Anyway, she's fantastic. I don't know why I can't think of her first name.
oh boy, this is just. It's
It's a
just
crack.
there's Carol Kay.
Kay, I follow on Facebook, and she's, how old is she? 90? I mean, she's like,
she was famous back in the 50s and 60s.
yeah. So I mean,
is it all the way to the 50s?
Yeah. And she she started. I almost put her on this list because she started as a guitar player, playing in jazz groups, and then somebody needed her to fill in on bass, and all of a sudden she became like the session bass player.
What about Gail Ann Dorsey?
I don't know who that
Bowie.
is.
David Bowie's good bass player.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Okay, and then I got to bring this up because I know you got friends in the Pixies too.
Yeah.
Kim Deal.
Yeah.
Bassist.
Good point.
Okay.
Well, and her sister plays guitar.
Did not know.
Yeah.
Then what about Jennifer Finch from Elsa?
Yeah, I remember Elsa.
Kim Gordon from Sonic Youth.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, no, we're down in the hole. Everybody, pull us out. But you know what? With the way the world is, I say we all just play the music a little louder.
Absolutely.
And drown out the noise of stuff we don't want to hear. But we have to still look at what's going on. But we can take breaks and fill our soul with music. Yeah,
absolutely. It's inspiring. It's inspiring to hear all these stories and all these sounds, and to become reinvigorated by being inspired by what somebody's done. That's a very powerful thing, because the world has always been challenging, but right now we're living in a unique time, and it's more important than ever to find those things that make your spirit feel lighter. And
I agree.
I think that's totally true. And to all this fantastic music, and there's so much good music coming out these days. There's so much talent. There's so much beauty in music to be appreciated. And I just like the fact that we've got these wonderful women in music, and we focused on a very narrow selection. There's so many incredible women in music, in all. I mean, from piano players to songwriters to all these different sounds and ideas, and it's absolutely fantastic. And I love that we have a month where we celebrate women's contributions, because there's certainly been in this country. A focus on men. There's certainly been a domination. Women have had to work really hard to get equal time, equal pay. It's really, my wife is an advanced practice nurse and midwife, and practiced medicine for 20 years. And she had to fight a long time to make sure that her mid-level care provider was being paid the same as the other mid-level care providers that were male. So, I mean, we've shined a light on the talent and make sure that people are talking about it.
I agree. Well, thank you, Mr. Joey. Have a wonderful rest of your day and evening. And we will be back next month, everyone. Joey's here every fourth Sunday. And I have an idea for next month's show. Everyone stay tuned to find out whether or not it comes true. Thanks, Joey.
Thanks, my friend.
Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.